for KT Rolster. So let's see if they can pick themselves up, and let's see which KT Rolster we see on the Rift for Game 1.
Yep. Straight into picks and bans. Nidalee going to be taken off the table very quickly, followed up by Ezreal, actually. A very interesting ban. I mean, we know that Ezreal as a champion is pretty much synonymous with Bang, the best in the world when it comes down to it. But still interesting. We don't see Ezreal bans too often, really at all.
And they're often very targeted bans. SKT,
well, that's definitely a very targeted
Bang
ban.
in particular, 7-1 on the Ezreal this season. Bang and Prey are definitely the top 2 Ezreal players in Korea, so from time to time, they get those bans. Speaking of interesting bans, a Zia ban comes out against Faker. Teams have been experimenting with leaving it up, but more often than not, it's been a big pick for Faker. Now, a weird ban from Rox Tigers was 2 games in a row of banning Vladimir against SKT, even though SKT's played it once, and it was actually a very poor game by both Faker and SKT. They lost it. Faker was outroamed consistently. Of course, you don't take the teleport on the mid lane Vladimir, so it does decrease some of your priorities. Vladimir on 6-12 is still very powerful, so we may see it last banned. Let's see if KT goes somewhere else, and yes, they will leave Vladimir open to
But
SK
not
Telecom.
only that, they've also left the Rise open. That could be snatched up by Faker. We've seen him with that champion time and time again when he gets his hands on it. He does dirty, dirty things.
I mean, we haven't seen him on it recently, though. Only one game this season was a victory, like you mentioned. Teams have been really deprioritizing Rise to a great degree. We've seen Rise fall through picks and bans multiple series this week, although we've seen big Rise performances as well. So you never really know how a specific team values it. SKT themselves have not picked it when available multiple times this season. With double AD carry bans, it's probably going to be a movement, and they're actually going to go for the Vladimir first.
All right.
So again, this is a staple pick. This is a very powerful pick. It also really puts the restrictions on what champions are available for KT. Too many teams I've seen draft the Kindred against Vladimir and really get wrecked in the middle of a team fight to AoE. So SKT will be trying Vladimir for the 2nd time this season, but a lot open for KT. Previous to that series against Jin Air, they would be happy in this spot to first round the Aurelia, blind pick it, but Duke and Someday are 2 of the strongest carry tops in the league. So let's see if KT will leave that last pick for Someday, or if they'll actually keep it for Fly.
I think you have to save it for someday at this point, knowing almost certainly that the Vladimir will be going in the mid lane. You can safely draft around for Fly and then give someday that counter potential in the top side. See right now KT thinking about going with the Ashe. Arrow has had some pretty strong success with this pick. Bang as well, somebody that's been trying his hand at it more and more so in recent history, and they will go with the bot lane, so Ashe and Braum for KT.
So with Sivir and Ezreal banned away, Gragas goes way up in priority. He was already jumping up, but the meta AD carries in this game are going to be Ashe and Jhin. Those are the 2 available. Yeah. Neither of them have an escape, so Gragas actually becomes really high priority to be able to bounce one of those AD carries into the front lines to allow for deletion, so pick on the enemy AD carry. So in this round of the draft, we'll see the Gragas. Now, KT kind of anticipated this. They already drafted the Braum, who has the ability to stop some of that punishing crowd control. And yeah, I feel like Bang will just have to default to the Jhin because his champion pool you already see on the screen. Ezreal, Sivir, Ashe, and now we see the Jhin locked in.
Yep. So we'll be snatching up the Gragas. Blank had, again, a very great performance on this champion just 2 days ago, so unsurprising that he wants to go for this. And now we have to see where KT wants to head as far as their jungle picks go. Of course, Elise, Rek'Sai still available.
I think the Rek'Sai is the big pick for Score. It has always been a legacy Rek'Sai player. 4-0 this season, one of the few undefeated records not impacted by the loss against Jin Air earlier this week. 34.5 KDA. The 1v1 matchup against the Gragas and very similar junglers, so definitely not a punishing one on either side. Score was really highly prioritizing the Kindred earlier in the week, and again, against Vladimir, not great. Against the displacement from the Gragas ultimate, not great when you're talking about the Lamb's Respite. So I'm hoping this is not another Kindred game from Score, as will Fly mess with Faker on the Aurelion Soul again, and wow, this is a big story, but they will go for the Kindred as well. That makes me kind of shake my head. I'm not sure about the Kindred, and given how the last matchup went, it is a risk running Aurelion Soul against SKT a 2nd series in a row.
Well, bold indeed here by the side of KT, but maybe bold is what they need. Maybe SK Telecom weren't expecting them to play these picks because they thought they would be a little bit too scared to do so. See though, Bang just flipping through a plethora of champions. Gonna be looking for that support and the top laner.
It's going to have to be a blind pick top laner, so Trundle jumps out as the most obvious top lane pick that would open up a skill matchup from Someday. The Fiora might be a possibility for Someday to break out, but you know, in this situation, it's not the greatest situation to have to blind pick top lane. Shen's off the board. That's the most standard blind pick top lane, so Trundle probably second place to Shen in that particular regard. It's been a good pick for Duke.
Well, looks like it will be Trundle. So Trundle and Karma going to be rounding out the squad, which does place Vladimir in the mid side. Both back on to her. So, pretty strong draft here for the side of SK Telecom if they can get this moving. Great pick potential with the Gragas. Pillar as well can just cut somebody off. And now actually it's going to be a Gnar. Very quickly decided. You said you maybe thought we would see the Fiora, but it's actually just going to be Gnar picked up here for Someday. We've seen mixed success when it comes down to this champion against Trundle. Because sometimes you absolutely crush the lane, and other times you fall way too far behind and suddenly just can't impact whatsoever.
Yeah, the new school build we've seen actually in terms of starting items, the triple rejuve bead and potion start that was pioneered by ADD.
Thank you, ADD.
Has actually worked out really well. That 150% base health regen, you can take more health regen from other spots, just gives you more options than the Doran's Shield that was the previous start, and it seems to allow you to sustain through the early laning phase. Someday's still going to build for lane, he's still going to build aggressive. This is Someday we're talking about, so expect the Frozen Mallet and the Black Cleaver to come out in short order. But Gnar has definitely been the pick that's rise this week. We've seen very little of the Fiora this week and relatively less of the Aurelia, and a big priority on the Gnar, even though the Gnar results have been polarizing to say the least. The only Gnar who's really jumped out as a massive performer on Gnar was actually Duke when he played it once earlier this season. It's a matchup that, again, does give Someday lane control, which is an important fact when you've got a jungle like Kindred and potentially some pressure coming through from the always pushing up Aurelion Sol. But again, it's that matchup that can tip depending on the jungle. So let's see how Blank and Score path around what is one of these carry top matchups. Duke versus Someday is always a highlight.
Yep, and we know that Score is going to be trying to get Someday ahead as quickly as he possibly can be. These guys tying up for first blood participation on the side of KT, but let's go ahead, get right into game one. Telecom Wars coming your way. And it's going to be a Mountain Drake to kick things off. So a nice little start here. You can hear the crowd. We have a pretty packed audience here, the OGN East Stadium today.
Scorching hot day in Seoul, South Korea. Scorching first series for everyone around the world joining us.
You know, we actually had a text warning go out on our phones yesterday warning us about the heat wave, and it literally says, old people, stay inside, please.
I think everyone should stay inside. If you're not in the Sangam East Stadium, you should be at home watching what really shapes to be an exciting match. And again, even on a simple level, it's a battle for first, which is always cool to see. Looking at some of the masteries. So Strength of the Age is not the pickup for Faker. He's going to go...
The Spell Thieves.
Not the Spell Thieves. The Storm Raiders Surge.
Spell Thieves, whoops. That's an item.
That is definitely a support item that we do see Karma taking out this game. So your eyes were just
trained
a couple down.
You know, it's okay.
One thing I want to focus on, first game of the season for Someday on Gnar, and I was looking over his historic win rate on the champ. He's definitely not one of these Gnar players who's excelled. We're looking at the stat that OGN brings up, 21 kills to go for Faker. That's a possibility.
He could very well get that in this series. If he tries hard enough, you can see Hachani going in for a little bit of an invade. Smite will be confirmed by Blank there, actually.
Hachani, not again.
Yeah, not like this.
He does like to die in some of these invades. We will never forget him invading red buff, flashing for the hit on it, last hit on it, then dying.
I'm sure he would like us to, but...
Sorry, Hachani.
Some of those things just never go away.
They're just coming back to the Gnar. 5 and 8 lifetimes, so Someday has a positive win rate on most of these champions in the top lane, so the Gnar is certainly one of the black marks next to his name.
You can see the youngins in the audience coming out to support their favorite player, Faker.
How original.
Yeah.
My favorite player is the best player.
My favorite team is TSM.
My favorite top two players are Smeb and Faker. I'm an original.
You can't blame people for that.
I mean, Faker also has that unique quality of being very humble, which is a very big thing in Korean culture. He's confident and humble at the same time, depending on the interview, so does get a lot of popularity from that. But Vladimir has certainly not been a staple pick for him, so we definitely have to watch and see. He was heavily roamed upon against, I believe it was a Freak of Freaks, where it was the Kassadin versus Vladimir mid lane matchup, and Mickey went all over the map killing people as Kassadin as early as level 3. And Faker was kind of anchored to mid lane, wouldn't use his Ghost. That was the thing about Faker, because famously, his use of Summoner spells has always been amazing. You see so many replays where like, wait, he had Flash up and he didn't use it?
I mean, we saw that just 2 days ago.
But then you have the Ghost, which is honestly, on such a short cooldown, that using it to roam between lanes is the way you want to do it. Dade put this the best in 2014, where it goes to mid lane just to put down a ward at level 1. That was a little bit too crazy, but you just need to use it to have
There are
that
boundaries.
Impact. Exactly. Dade knows no boundaries with his Ghost, okay? We didn't talk much about it. The lane swap was enacted, but it was a different lane swap, as Nar was already involved in the lane, so you can see him picking up the CS here.
We'll be able to get pretty even up here so far with Duke. Of course, both of these top laners currently tied at 500 MVP points. One of them going to be looking to inch out above the other, potentially in this game, unless somebody else on the side of either squad soaks up the MVPs.
But they'll only be inching towards Smeb, the other top laner of the top lane carry triumvirate in Korea.
Of course. And I mean, who else, as far as top laners goes, and pretty much anybody in the league, who else is going to be on top of MVP points? It's got to be Smeb. He was very much dominant last split, continues to be so this time around.
It'd be quite the story to actually repeat as MVP in the same year, both spring and summer split. It has been top laners exclusively when it comes to season MVPs in the history of LCK. We began with Duke, then on Najin in spring 2015, and it was Someday in summer, and Smeb in spring of 2016. We like our top laners in Korea.
We do.
Because all our AD carries left.
There's a lot of people.
Mid laners too.
I mean,
although now our mid laners play AD carry, as I watched Invictus Gaming have Rookie AD carry yesterday.
I was going to say we
more than a single tier rolled down my
We
face.
lost a couple top laners as well. Marin said his goodbyes to us.
He's the second best mid laner in the world, and he's playing AD carry. I don't even know, China. Why? Why China?
No one has the answer to that. You just can't explain it. Just China. Just China things.
I'm so sad.
We have just Faker things. They have just China things.
That's true. They're just Faker things. I mean, the LeBlanc finally, Faker after two
thank heavens for that.
characteristically poor LeBlanc games, looked wonderful in that series against Rox, and always an outside consideration in this series as well.
Yeah, that was a very crushing LeBlanc play. I wasn't able to really contain myself when he just full bursted Peanut out over the wall. Didn't see that one coming.
The big match squee, you can call it, Achilles. So Fly is very much on a ward. Nice little white lane ward. It's always been a standard ward spot, as you can spot people rotating from lane and also ganks coming around the side, but getting a lot of value in this case. Score will clear it out, though. Trinkets, you have to be more careful with your positioning, because of course the trinket wards have less vision radius, so that's always been a favored spot for those mid laners.
So far, though, going to be pretty even. You can see Arrow going for the call with these lane swaps, so we'll be able to stack that up pretty quickly. And with the dagger in the inventory, I guess we can surmise that he's going to be going for the Berserker Greaves as the first completion. And then whether or not he wants to go straight into an Infinity Edge from there or the Hurricane, we'll have to find out. They do have pretty good wave clear with the Aurelian Soul.
Really like the lane ward that SKT placed at the top side. You can see basically a little bit further than where the KT outer top lane turret was. That's definitely, if they decide to rotate over, that's sort of ward that you can teleport on if you're Duke for a collapse. But for now, it's just freezing, although because the freeze has ended in bot, you can see Bang pushing in the bot side.
Faker walks up for a little bit of harassment onto the Aurelian Soul. He's going to take some damage back, but ultimately will come out on top of that. Fly using the last charge of that corrupting potion, so it's going to start hurting from here on out. You can see just the Sapphire Crystal in the inventory, so going to be looking for that Rod of Ages first.
See that Gnar, of course, wants to be in an item advantage against Trundle, a natural lane counter, but only has a stacking item towards, you have to imagine, Titanic Hydra as his first item, so in a bigger hole than even the small CS advantage from Duke reflects.
Oh, I thought you were saying Gnar with the Titanic Hydra. I was like,
No, that would be silly.
I was like, that doesn't work.
No, my apologies. No Titanic Hydra. Will be Titanic Hydra on Trundle, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Just the Black Cleaver and Frozen Mallet for the Gnar. Probably Frozen Mallet first.
Quite possibly. Arrow just going to take that Gromp and then should be backing off. He did sustain a good amount of damage and is pretty far forward with limited vision. Score pushing in. Let's see this blue buff. Starts it up. There's no wolves here for Blank.
It's risky for Blank to come here because this has been the side of the map that KT's had the most control over. And yeah, Smite does confirm the blue buff steal for Score.
Yeah, nice takeaway.
Not very relevant in this particular game. Faker is on the Vladimir in the mid lane, and Blank now has the Hunter's Potion, so he's going to be able to sustain through just fine.
Very true. You can see though SKT rotating their bottom lane into the mid, so Bang going to soak up this CS and elongate that little bit of a lead that he has over Arrow at the moment. Faker roams back in. Of course, Mountain Drake again, the first one spawns. So both of these teams would very much like to fight over this. Chani's going to find Wolf with the Winter's Bite. And now blue buff being taken, trying to hand this one over to Fly. Both junglers do have Smite. Blank no longer with vision, throws at the cask, actually takes it away. Nicely played. And that is going to be pretty crucial to take away from the side of Fly.
Absolutely will hurt some of his lane control, though. Because you're Aurelion Soul, you have that unique ability to push in the wave back and go for those extra shots that other champions don't have access to, mostly because you have the ability to take flight with your E, and it's a bit like Rammus Powerball. You get to lane a lot faster than most champions, as the swiftness boosts as well.
If you could just Powerball over all of the terrain.
That's true. I mean, we're going in a straight line from base. It's not as relevant, but the big thing for KT is they don't really want to fight when they have both building block items on champions like Gnar, and then Catalyst is the only completed item for their mid laner. Ashe has Berserker Greaves compared to 4 longswords, which fit into Caulfield's Warhammer and the double longsword for Jhin. So lots of early power for SKT means that KT want to avoid fights for now.
Yep. Surprised Bang went for the Caulfields before the Dirk. I guess he didn't really need the Dirk since he was in the lane swap and pretty much farming for free. So the armor penetration not going to be nearly as relevant, but it's a little adaptation, but will be still going for that Youmuu's Ghostblade that we've seen only a few Jins really differentiate from. This seems to be pretty much the staple build, much like the Black Cleaver Youmuu's was for Lucian for a while, but every now and then you still have those people that would come in and pick up the Essence Reaver first.
Definitely been people messing with Infinity Edge first on a few carries this week. We saw both Sivir and Jhin with IE first build, so there has been some dissenting this week in particular.
It's that +5, man.
Blank already stole away one buff, but being well zoned, this is well thought out by KT. Smite is available, so Mountain Drake and be renewed a second one. Okay.
All right. Nice. I am happy as long as we don't take Cloud.
When we cast this in the first round robin, you remember there was triple Infernal to start things off.
Yeah, so that was one hell of a game.
You can be optimistic about the Drakes. Doa and I took a safety-first approach when we cast the other day and coined the term, why don't you just always assume it's Cloud Drake? Because if it is Cloud Drake, you can be like, oh, of course.
You're not disappointed.
And if it's better than Cloud Drake, you can be like, wow, that's great. I'm excited.
I mean, you could just say if it's literally anything else.
Exactly.
Because they will all be better than Cloud Drake.
I mean, Ocean, you're like, well, it's not. At least it's not Cloud Drake, right?
It's good for sieging.
In the early game, it's good.
It's also very good for your jungler.
I mean, again, a lot of these things are early in the game. Before you have, say, a Hunter's Potion, before you have a couple of items, when you actually take relevant damage from the jungle, it's quite good on your jungle. I guess on supports, given they're level 6, 30 minutes into the game, they can be relevant. But as the game goes on, the priority for Ocean goes down. I would actually say in the late game, unless you're talking about multiple stacks of Ocean, that Cloud might actually be better just for the chance to get a pick with that extra movement speed.
Well, now Vision going to be fought over around this Rift Herald. As Wolf goes and clears that one out, we can see the CS gap is still stretching between all of the carry lanes and the top. Someday still going to be down by 13. This mid lane gap is really starting to stretch in favor of Faker.
When not building magic resist, when you take really damaging trades, it can become difficult for the Aurelion Soul to match CS. And of course, Vlad gets to the point when Tides of Blood has enough levels to push just as well as Aurelion Soul, even instantly. Compared to Aurelion Soul, it takes a bit of time, so no real way for Fly to get those backs, and it means he's a level behind, and now 35 CS. So again, matchup, it's Aurelion Soul matchup against Faker. It didn't go well the first time for KT earlier in the season, and not looking great this time either.
Oh, well. Flash comes out of Arrow, just getting himself to safety away from Blank in case he went for that Flash body slam play. So SKT going to be really happy taking away that Summoner spell, and now push back up towards Rift Herald to get some deep vision into the jungle of KT. But still going to be playing back, keeping it safe. Rotate back to this mid side where Bang has just been farming up and continuing this push into that tier 1 tower.
But if it just ends up being more CS trading, KT will take it. Their itemization's a lot more selfish than that of SKT, who've gone for power first, whereas we've got things like the Cull and not even the Rod of Ages. This is actually a very late Rod of Ages timing for professional play. He went for the Boots of Swiftness first just to complete that play style of being able to recall and get to the lane before the wave crashes on his turret, but going to be a 14-minute at earliest Rod of Ages for Fly.
Yeah, Faker not really taking much damage from that Aurelion Soul, actually opted to go for the Proto Belt. I thought maybe he was going to be coming out with that Spirit Visage.
Early when we saw these Vladimirs, it was the Ruby Crystal into Kindle Gem into Null Magic Mantle, then a straight Proto Belt. But a lot of these punishing matchups like a Nivea, another high harass melees came through, and Coco was the first one to just straight up rush the Spirit Visage that gets you through some of the more tricky matchups. But Faker feels confident enough to sit on the cowl, go to the Proto Belt. It makes sense. SKT want to fight right now, so Ghost Flash, Proto Belt should be enough to launch into the backline of KT Rolster. And again, this is the time before the Rod of Ages is stacked up for SKT to fight.
Oh, yeah, Chani gets rooted, takes a little bit of damage, but uses that stand behind me. Leap his way to safety, but all of SKT grouping up. That's going to be the curtain call coming out. Arrow finds the first shot at Chani the second. Fly the third, and Chani the fourth takes a good chunk off of his HP bar, and that should send the Braum back. If not, just hang in the back lines, maybe throw out that Glacial Fissure if it comes down to it. It looks like SKT still not in much of a position to move in and take out this tier 1, so Chani will be safe to back off, and SKT are going to go over to this Rift Herald.
The reason why you saw SKT, Faker in particular, be so aggressive trying to chunk out someone under the turret is that this is what KT wants to do. Nara in the bot lane, Aurelion Soul in top, and Arrow wave clearing around the mid lane, but let's see what happens here.
Arrow comes out, Wolf flashes, but doesn't get out of range of that arrow. He takes a good chunk of damage from Score. Now here comes something on the back line. He's building up the Gnar bar, should be able to transform soon. Here comes in. Here he comes, gets the nice Gnar ulti right into the wall, stuns up Blank, and they take him down for first blood. Faker, though, going in on the fly, uses that ultimate to try to push him back, but Faker is still hot on his heels, using the Sanguine Full to get into range. One last hit, can he do it? He's not able to finish off Fly, and the star damage is just dealing too much. Now KT can pinch up, walking over that pink ward. Faker sees him, but no summoner spells, no real way of getting out of this one. Dodges out the Winter's Bite, but Arrow's there to slow him up, and they take him down. 2 kills going over to KT Rolster.
Really nice stuff from KT. The fail flash from Wolf is what started everything off. He was in a weird spot where flashing towards his team forced him to flash over thick terrain to make sure he got over. He ended up just flashing into the path of the Ash arrow. He was taken very low and obviously didn't go down, but meant that he was a non-factor for the rest of the fight. The Rage Bar from Someday. We couldn't take this for granted for Someday. He again has a losing record on the Gnar. It's his first Gnar of the season, but already has the Rage Bar at the right time, fighting around an objective. SKT, they funnel up, really nice double Gnar, takes out the jungler. They didn't even get the Rift Herald for this, SKT, so KT, 2 kills. Faker tries to recreate last time out where he was able to solo kill Fly multiple times, but because he still had the regeneration, the last Q doesn't kill Fly, and then he was just horribly overextended for this.
Yeah, it was just a nice stun there coming out from Fly, keeping himself alive. I thought for sure he was dead, but just set up Faker to go down. So
I like how Chani just went safety first, ignited the low health Vladimir. It's like, no juking this time.
Oh, we saw Faker get away with some crazy jukes. Fly, though, getting hit up by that cast, trying to juke out the rest of these bullets. And Chani with a very nice block. Now the arrow comes through. Blank, gonna get stunned up by the concussive blows, and somebody will be able to finish him off. Has that Gnar bar stacked yet again, but the stun's not gonna come through, and bang! Blows him up with that crit shot. And now KT have to hightail it back out of here because Duke is still a
Arrow
very
still has no
tanky
flash.
It's going to be the stun coming through concussive blows. Arrow going to get hit up by that Hemo Plague. Duke goes forward, but he's going to go down. Arrow finds the kill. Now Faker in there. Lambs Respites down, keeping KT alive. But Shawnee looking like he's going to be able to exit this one, but Faker is still pushing forward. Score does find Bang, but Faker is just wreaking havoc on Fly at the moment. But Score comes out, takes out Wolf, and now he's going to go down. And KT come out on top yet again with the unofficial ace, and that's going to be a second Mountain Drake.
Massive fight for Score in particular on the Kindred. Managed to channel the Lamb's Respite exactly when he needed to. That would be a given with the old functionality of the Lamb's Respite, but got into his own position. Can only ult on yourself now after the changes a few patches ago. Kept the Ashe alive longer. Target selection from SKT wasn't great, and Jin was left all alone, turned on by multiple members of KT. So the kills rack up, so do the Drakes. 2 Mountains could certainly be relevant when Sunday's been really on form so far with this Nara. We're going to see the replay. Notice that Jin and Faker are at the back on this Vladimir.
It's a great start.
It is a great start. Fly gets chunked out. Nice from Hachani to stop him. And then Someday, while it looks like he's going to prop him this fight, the important thing to note is they didn't actually have Nar ultimate back off cooldown. Only level 1 ult, so he wouldn't have been able to use it even when he transformed.
Yeah.
So he dies, and things are looking pretty good from SKT. And with this comp, they're very good at launching into the back line, but when they locked in the Karma, they actually have no one to peel for the Jin. Positioning for Bang in this particular game is super hard. That's why he channeled his ult, and then when he saw everyone run away, he's like, crap, how can I even be involved in this fight? He just ends up being free food for Score, who turns onto him. Faker, once again, baited by the low health bar on Fly, is taken down, and Score suddenly, out of nowhere, with the triple kill, 4-0, and really starting to accelerate his build.
Yeah, really good pickups there. The Mountain Drake, especially for KT, having 2 of them is really going to help accelerate this game in their favor as they continue to knock down structures. Currently tied 2-2 as far as those turrets go. We'll see how much that's going to change in the near future. At the moment, 1,500 gold in favor of KT. So SKT, despite giving up those kills, still have very strong CS leads in top, mid, and AD carry positions. So they're not going to be suffering nearly as much as they would if KT were able to equalize those CS counts.
KT having pressure from the sidelines is so important for them. They have 2 mid laners here who will be in off lanes, Vladimir and the Aurelion Sol. While Vladimir has Ghost, Aurelion Sol has his E, so they pretty much cancel each other out. So both of them happy to park themselves. Big difference between the Trundle and the Gnar, especially a Gnar that's now accelerated. Might be behind in CS, but has more gold just because there's more gold available to KT. Yeah. And the Mountain Drakes in particular building for lane as well. Already seen 1 really nice teleport flank from Someday. Teleports back up, flashes back up.
And then our ultimate.
Exactly, so if he has pressure, he can make some big plays. Speaking of big plays, is it bounce over the wall Baron time? It is.
It is. He messed up the first jump, but he's going to get this one.
Does not know about it.
Blank is roaming up now, sees this pink ward, and he's going to spot them doing the Baron. It's only down to half HP. Yeah, and now Wolf is not there. Neither is Duke, does have the teleport available. Hachani has to flash out the backside of the pit. Score taking a lot of damage. It's going to be a Smite War. Score comes out on top. Faker comes in, does take out the Braum, but he is going to fall for it. Actually flashes at the end of the fight. That was not what you wanted to do. Curtain calls there, finding some targets, sitting on top of the Lamb's Respite. They're not going to be able to land the 4th bullet or get the kill, and KT should be able to exit this, picking up 2 kills and the Baron, only losing the Braum.
It's so significant that KT keep piling on advantages when their scaling items are still scaling. The Rod of Ages is still not at full stacks. It'll be about 25 minutes into the game. Score has no ult.
They're
going to try to overstay here.
Yeah, he jumps out of the way of that W, so he won't get rooted by the Jin, and SKT can't find the kill, can't find the turret. They have to back off, and KT are just stacking on the lead so heavily right now. And I think, you mentioned a 2-0 prediction for KT, because the logical choice would be SK Telecom.
Oh, yes.
And it's looking pretty likely so far, at least for game 1, Papa.
Exactly. Look how fast these builds have accelerated for KT. How long ago was it where it was Berserker Greaves, a Cull, and a BF sword for Arrow, and suddenly out of nowhere, Hurricane and Infinity Edge are complete. He's actually ahead of his opposite number, even though Yomu's Ghostblade was finished very early for Bang. Just hasn't had the same impact in the last few minutes, and the team fights have gone super well for KT. A Snowball Phantom Dancer and Hex Drinker for Score, who's basically a god at this point, can happily fight in the front line. Sure, this team fight comes. Sure, the Kindred will fall off in the ultra late game, but when you're this far ahead, logic like that can be thrown out. And Score is a beast right now.
Okay, well, this is really bold by Faker. Moves forward. Somebody's pinching it over the wall, but the rest of SKT now collapsing down from above. Hachani with nowhere to go, no flash available, has to leap back to Score. It looks like it might actually be enough distance to get him out of harm's way. Arrow and Fly started collapsing from above, and SKT are just going to pull back out of their jungle.
It's been really nice stuff from KT. The Baron also allows them to push in. Very aggressive. The wave clear is not great from SKT. It's really only Vladimir who has to walk up basically into melee range to ensure the Tides of Blood hits the full minion wave, and with the Baron buff minions, then again, doesn't do that much anyway. So SKT can just park Faker in the bottom lane.
Sunday's here to answer this push. We'll be able to catch the wave and keep it up towards that tier 2. Meanwhile, Fly's putting up top, gets a good amount of damage in onto that tier 2 tower.
It's a perfect lane assignment. It's a Frozen Heart Titanic Hydra Trundle against all the magic damage coming out from Fly. So things are great for KT right now.
And yeah, you can see even for Fly to get that much damage in, the Mountain Drake, the double Mountain Drake rather, is really helping this push. With those
a replay of the Baron. So one thing I wanted to comment on there was that it looked like it was going to be bad for KT. They were tanking the Baron. 2 members came to contest, including the Vladimir. But even though the Baron was at low health, KT understood we cannot use the Lamb's Respite, because that, of course, means that the Baron is invulnerable as well.
Yeah.
Score risked it. He risked his eye. He risked everything on being able to smite it, but he got it and was able to hop out. They didn't take any massive punishment either. They actually won the kill trade from that as well. So veteran Kindred mechanics.
Triple Mountain Drake.
Wow. Well, the next Baron will instantly explode.
Yeah, this is such a strong pickup from KT. And what's it going to be? It's going to be an Infernal. Oh, buddy. I love me the Telecom Wars.
Ash Arrow.
Yeah, it's going to be the arrow coming out. Does find Blank to get the winner's bite onto him, but he body slams away, trying to create some distance.
Here comes
Someday, knocks Wolf into the tower. He will get the stun. Glacial Fisher comes through, locks up Blank, slows him up, and he's going to go down. Fly finds the kill. Meanwhile, Arrow finishes off Maker. Wolf looking like he might be the next target, but they can't quite finish him off. KT still pushing forward. Score goes in, has that Lamb's Respite there for himself and Arrow. Peng just opening up with the curtain call, trying to get some damage in, but Hachani is there to block it all. Now Duke flashing away from Someday, trying to run out. Someday, he's going to go down. The turn will be able to finish him with the help of the Subjugate, so they do lose 1, but they pick up 3, and how much more can they take? Triple Mountain Drake. Faker's dead for 10 seconds. This is the inhibitor, more than likely going to go down.
Only a support Karma, so certainly no ability to wave this. A goodbye mid lane inhibitor. Goodbye Someday's life. He was buoyed by all the excitement of winning multiple team fights, to just jumped under turret and died. That was
I'm invincible! Oh, wait.
You're not actually that tanky, Someday. You got no armor, so those turrets really hurt.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised by Someday in this game, because he's not building for the team fight. He still has built for lane with his first 2 items, and this has been almost nothing but skirmishing since the start of things. He didn't even get into lane against the Trundle, I don't think really at all, in this entire match. So the fact that he's still building for that is surprising. We'll take a look at this replay.
You can't be surprised, but this is Someday we're talking about. The guy always builds for lane. This was really nice, and the heads-up play to Gnarled into the remnants of the dead turret, that still counts as a wall. So actually Gragas, even though he was on the other side of the wall, was stunned up as well. As Wolf, nice engage. KT know their limits in the mid lane at least. Probably won't watch a replay of Someday suiciding in the top lane. Bang just thinks he's going to get multiple kills on the backside, but Hachani jumps in front, blocks up the first hit. The low health, there was always an outside chance of Bang getting some kills, but not when Hachani jumped in triumphantly on the Braum. And man, this game just accelerated so quickly, and it was in a trough for KT. That's the worrying thing for SKT, is that they just got their Rod of Ages. They just got their BF swords. They hadn't finished their big items, and KT won the fight. They threw the lead. Those builds are just starting to mature now, and SKT have the comp to win in the late game, but 7,000 gold behind at 26 minutes. That late game fantasy is clearly starting to go out the window.
Yeah, and this was just really well played by KT from the start, running a gambit, trying to take away the Ezreal and Sivir in the bans targeting the hell out of Bang and then forcing him onto this Jhin even after Braum was already drafted. This has just been working out so well for KT. Blank gonna go in, gets a lot of damage in onto Arrow. Here comes the curtain call. One shot will finish him off. That could be a very significant opening now for SKT to come back into this game. Duke is gonna be posturing forward, trying to get onto score. Chunks him out pretty low. Blank goes over the wall, has a good amount of damage. The cast comes through, but it's not gonna do a whole lot to finish off the Kindred. Blank makes it out barely with his life, helped by a shield there from Wolf. Now KT just trying to retreat back underneath of this tier 2. Looks like they will be able to successfully do so, but they got a very crucial pick on the Arrow.
This is a really bad positioning mistake from Arrow and from KT. They could only have 4 members around the Baron because Someday is split pushing with no teleport. So
yeah,
that was just a situation where you couldn't walk up. Arrow still didn't have flash after the last fight, so and Ashe walking in the wilderness against a Gragas is always free food and well punished by SKT.
Honestly, though, I think that might still benefit KT. They got the tier 2. Someday was able to finish that one off, and they only lost the Ashe, who is now back up. He didn't have any summoner spells to expend, still has the ultimate, so KT are still in a perfect position to potentially go for another Baron. We can see Score clearing out these wards. They have vision in front of the pit. They could try to sneak it again.
And you can be glass half full about it, but it's still a mistake. In a different
Oh,
game
for sure,
where Score isn't this far ahead, they would have been punished, but they couldn't actually turn onto the Kindred because she had too many items, including the Phantom Dancer. So you're right, KT do win out, but that's the sort of mistake that in a future game could cost them a win.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Banshee Veil from Aurelion Sol's third item just wants to be a frontliner, realizes that the Ashe in particular has enough damage, but suddenly it has to be all about Arrow. Someday as an assist, but Arrow is the big damage dealer, and he still doesn't have flash for about another 50 seconds.
Well, that's a little scary, a little bit of a split call as to whether or not they want to start that one up, but Wolf gets caught out by the Arrow.
Has to exhaust super early.
Yeah, he goes really low, and now Johnny just blocking up with that front line. Pillar gets used, meanwhile Someday just keeping that mid lane moving towards the Nexus towers with those super creeps pushing in. And KT finds Blank, they lock him up, Glacial Fissure comes through, and he just gets popped. Arrow finds the kill. Now here comes Someday trying to get on a Faker, but he sanguine pulls away. Winner's Bite will catch him just off the back end, but he's able to get out. Still has the flash up, but with the jungler gone with triple Mountain Drake, KT should be able to very easily secure this Baron.
And people will point at Blank and wonder, why did you do that? Why did you walk in? But KT invested 4 pink wards around Baron to ensure there was no possibility for wards from SK Telecom, and it's a support Karma. It's not Braum. She can't walk up to ward, so it had to be the Gragas, instantly taken down, but it was more about KT smartly playing around the Baron. Why wouldn't you put 4 pink wards down when you have triple Mountain Drake and can delete it the moment the wards went down? Yeah. The wards were always going to be down because they had perfect vision around Baron, and there was nothing Blank could do. He had to face check.
I'm going to assume that Bang's Scrying Orb was down for the moment. It's up at the, it's up now, but I'm going to assume that it was on cooldown when that face check happened. I'll give Blank the benefit of the doubt.
Coming back to the builds, I love the Banshee Veil. It's going to be this tanky build. That's pretty
Yeah.
standard for Aurelion Sol.